Well, nothing going on around here. Likewise, the satellite is devoid of clouds. So we'll take a look at the weather elsewhere around the country. Here's what we have going on this afternoon. Frontal system in the northern Rockies, centered in Montana. That's starting to make its way southward, cold front through Boise, down into the Medford area. Out ahead of it, the air mass has definitely warmed up. We've got 76 there at Phoenix, and conditions pretty dry there. That plateau high is starting to weaken a bit, 1028 millibars, and we're starting to see temperatures coming up pretty high there in Texas. Don't quite have 80 degrees, but it looks like it's very close around San Antonio. The warm front in the eastern U.S. has worked eastward, and we've got this very light flow of cool air coming down through the Great Lakes. And let's take a look up north. This is where our cold air typically comes from, and we're starting to see maybe the very start of a change. If you look way up there at the top, high pressure in the Beaufort Sea north of Alaska, and you can see gusty winds, 15 knots there at, I think that's Sachs Harbor, minus 24 there, so obviously that's a heck of a wind chill there. So we're starting to bring some very fresh cold air southward. Now, we can certainly generate cold air in the continental region of Canada, but in any case, this is a fresh incursion of cold air, and this could build into the Northwest Territories. So we may start looking at maybe cold air starting to bulk up in that part of Canada. Here's a quick check at the upper tropospheric chart, 250 millibars. Still shows that polar front jet up in southern Canada. The tail end goes down into Virginia, North Carolina, and much of the Great Plains covered by this upper level high. So conditions, clear blue sky like you saw in the opening clip. We still have that cutoff low off the coast of South California, not doing very much there, and subtropical jet down in the Gulf region. So if you're flying from Miami to Dallas, you would have a bit of a headwind in maybe another 20 or 30 minutes of travel time. Now, out on the Pacific, things are getting active. Let me pan up here, and you can see this 200-knot jet. This is south of the Aleutians. It's almost off the coast of Japan, but that's going to be heading our way, that and this other wave, and things are going to be getting active on the west coast. Now, when we're talking about west coast systems, it's good to look at precipitable water. If you start tapping a lot of this purple and dark cyan, that means you're getting into 1.5-inch precipitable water, 2 to 2.5, and that could bring the potential for flooding rains, prolonged wintry weather, stuff like that in the western U.S. So we're looking for that jet max way out there in the Pacific, and let's see what is heading towards the coast. So looks like a very potent system right there south of the Aleutians. Looks like maybe a 980 millibar low. That's a well-developed frontal system, and you can see another wave coming together right here. So this is going to be approaching the west coast around the weekend, and boom, there it goes. Portland, Astoria, Quileute, Seattle, getting some inclement weather by late Saturday. And it looks like we get this little thin atmospheric river. That's not going to do a whole lot, but precipitable waters will be up above maybe 1 to 1.5 inches, just for kind of a short duration. Then we get this long fetch of westerly flow, so that's going to drive some cold air into the western U.S. Consequently, we get this anticyclone building there around Idaho, Oregon, maybe reestablishing that plateau high. And then another wave hits around late in the week. You can see the elevated pressures in the Great Basin region, 1030 millibars. So things will be a bit cool in that area, and we'll have continued persistent northerly components in the Four Corners and Las Vegas area. And you can see even out in Texas and Missouri, Mississippi, Arkansas, northerly flow also impacting that area. So if we get any sort of warm air advection off the Gulf Coast, things are likely going to be cloudy and possibly even some drizzle, fog, or rain. if it's strong enough. Then for the following weekend, we're getting close to Christmas, 18th, 19th. This is getting way out there. I don't really trust the GFS past 240, 280 hours, but it does look like some strong anticyclogenesis in the Canadian Arctic, and you can see the dry air indicating by that dark brown color. So this is going to be some very cool air. That'll have the potential for moving south. We just don't really know when or if that'll happen. Typically what happens is it goes into the northeast U.S. or even into Quebec. But sometimes it'll make it down into the southern U.S. Let's see, going into the days before Christmas, looks like a progression of systems across the northern states. And that's probably about all we can really tell at this point. Any potential for snowfall? Good question. I like to look at this on the hemispheric chart so I can kind of see what's going on exactly around the continent. And we'll run this forward. You can see a couple snow tracks there across Canada, and another one gets started in the central U.S. over the weekend. And then things get pretty active there on the west coast. Getting some good snowfalls in the mountains in that area over the weekend. However, this is kind of a dry pattern. This is typical of La Nina. One pretty good system there in Canada later next week. But overall, it looks like not really much potential for snowfall over the next couple weeks, except in the Pacific Northwest early next week. And looks like that little system there in, let's see, the Omaha, Des Moines, Chicago area, that's going to be around Saturday. And it appears what's happening is this upper level low around California, it looks like that opens up. Look at how that traverses Arizona tomorrow and over the panhandles on Friday, and that ends up in Kansas, Oklahoma, and develops a frontal wave. So there's that thing. Warm front across Illinois and warm air advection pattern across the Mississippi River Valley, and that's going to overrun the front, and that gives us our warm conveyor belt pattern set up. Cold conveyor belt coming in the backside, and looks like it's going to be cold enough to develop some snow. Yeah, right around Omaha up towards Rockford, Madison, Milwaukee, and then up across the Great Lakes. Now, one thing that's really cool to show you, take a look out here in the western U.S. around Saturday. We know things are starting to get stormy. There's starting to be some upper-level waves moving through that area, and looks like there's this system out here, warm front maybe, upper-level wave moving across that warm front. Looks like that picks up some sort of baroclinic instability in that area. See right here in Utah. That looks like a little wave coming together. Got strong pressure rises back in this area here around Idaho, and thermal gradient through the Great Basin area. See, normally you would probably just pick up on this and you'd see a little snow showers in this area, but it's really these subtle features that are really important. Now watch how that develops over the weekend. So that's scooted down into New Mexico. Cold front looking about like that. So you can see that warm air advection up through the Rio Grande. Cold northeast flow in places like Dalhart, Santa Fe. And we've also got this strong thermal gradient in the Four Corners area. So this is going to be early Sunday. Now, if we move forward another 12 hours or so, it looks like that rapidly moves southward, and you can see how these thickness lines are kind of pinched together near where that surface system is. Actually, it's not even surface anymore. Looks like that kind of becomes elevated, but it does show kind of an open wave appearance. That's the remainder of that little system. And it moves offshore, and back in behind it we get the anticyclogenesis. Pressure rises. Anyway, and that's the end of that system. It's obviously not doing a whole lot, but it will bring in a sharp reinforcement of cold air into Texas. Alright, so I hope that gives you some food for thought. I actually edited out some material because I figured it was getting kind of dry. But those are the essentials there, how to analyze systems in the wintertime on the GFS model output. So I hope you found that interesting and enlightening. Alright everybody, thank you for watching, and especially I thank all of you who are supporting the webcast. That'll help keep these programs coming for some time. Have a great one, and we'll see you tomorrow. And I'm going to leave you with a little bonus clip. This is the Iowa NWA, National Weather Association meeting in March 2002. Some old video of sights and sounds around there. This will show you my vendor table, my wife Shannon, she's still shipping out orders, and the forecast class that we did from 10 p.m. to midnight on that Saturday evening. All right, take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Campbell, Minnesota.
It's a cold one today. And here's our new place in Des Moines. 7th floor of Embassy Suites.
The limitation is that right now all of the requests for a product go to the same server, and the server can't service
curriculum, and we've been pretty successful. This year we provided 2 more, and we've had several requests. I think this is the first year we've had. I think we had to grab them really quick.
As that storm moves to the east-southeast, as soon as this feature came together very quickly, you can see how.
You got your sounding plotted here, your temperature lines and so on. It's 12Z. You have to use your knowledge and experience to try to fill this in.